Yes, there was. And he came from our part of the world. And guess what? He didn't have a PhD from Oxford. He was an old man with a walking stick. And if you went to his home for dinner, he would get a bowl of milk and a piece of bread. And this old man not only anticipated the collapse of communism and the Soviet Union, he did it in the most dramatic way possible. He wrote a letter in January 1980 that I want to remind you about. A letter to Gorbachev, inviting him to Islam and informing him that communism now belongs to the museums of history. He was right, but history was not so polite. History consigned communism to the garbage bin of history. His name was Imam Khomeini, and I always say Rahimahullah, because this was truly a spectacular feat. How could he do it? How could he, in January 1980, anticipate what would take place by November 1980? The Berlin Wall came down in November 1980. We quote this example because it is only if you have the light which comes from the truth, which is the Qur'an, that you can truly see. Otherwise, you can't really see. And so he was a Muslim who had the Qur'an. And it was with the light that came from that truth that Imam Khomeini was able to do what he did. From our perspective, fundamental change took place in the world, and it didn't take place in 1980. From our perspective, the New World Order did not begin in 1980. It began much earlier. A new actor burst on the stage of history. That actor hitherto varied like wild tribes. There was never a civilization worth mentioning. If you dug, you made an archaeological investigation of that area, you won't find anything but bows and arrows and so on, and stones. I talk about Europe. If you dig China, you will see a civilization. If you dig Egypt, you see a civilization. If you dig Babylon, you see a civilization. But if you dig Europe, you find nothing. A new actor, therefore, burst onto the stage of history. They are a Judeo-Christian people, and while still essentially Judeo-Christian, they did not command power. History allowed us the evidence. They gave all that they could to the crusade, but could not succeed in defeating us. They tried and they failed. That Europe is now suddenly transformed. Fundamental change takes place. That change culminates in Europe of the West at one point in time, and then Europe of the East at a later point in time. We speak, of course, of the French Revolution, and then 100 years later of the Bolshevik Revolution. The French Revolution transforming Western Europe, the Bolshevik Revolution transforming Eastern Europe. Briefly, what was the nature of that fundamental change in Europe? It was essentially, not exclusively, essentially the transformation of two civilizations, not one, two. They are first rivals to each other. The transformation of two civilizations, from civilizations based on faith in Christianity, to essentially godless civilization. That, I assert, is the fundamental nature of the change which took place. But something else happened. As though someone had injected some kind of a virus into them. And now they get it cannot be described better than this. They get a restless energy. A restless energy, like water rushing down the stream. And Dr. Israel knows what I'm talking about. A restless energy now infects European civilization. And they now use that energy in every single endeavor to try to surpass whatever had been achieved before. Look at sports and the Olympics. And the European people now excel in sports, in nearly every different game, every different sport. They want to do better and yet better and break the record and then break the record even more and become the fastest man on the earth, and another one comes and beats it. A restless energy. And it takes them suddenly, precipitately up onto the top of human excellence, leaving all the rest of mankind behind, demonstrating in a very dramatic way a claim to superiority, an arrogant claim to superiority. That new Europe, which is now transformed into an essentially godless Europe, it has many targets, but its primary target is religion. Religion being, first of all, Christianity and Judaism. And it unleashes a ferocious attack on those who had corrupted the word of Allah. Alhamdulillah alladhi anzala ala abdihi al-kitab wa lam yaj'al lahu iwaja. No crookedness here. They made those books crooked. Alhamdulillah, Allahumma jalla jalaluhu. Alhamdulillah alladhi anzala ala abdihi al-kitaba wa lam yaj'al lahu iwaja. Qayyima. Straightforward is this book, no crookedness. لِيُنْذِرَ بَأْسًا شَدِيدًا مِنْ لَدُنْهُ. And what terrible punishment is this now unleashed upon the Christian and the Jewish world. A force so ferocious, it utterly destroys them. And they're still being broken up into even smaller and yet smaller bits. Today, a homosexual priest can now be recognized as a priest. How far have they fallen? Religion is the primary target. What is the nature of the attack on religion? The nature of the attack on religion